Okay, so we're going to go back into Edge Animate today, and we're going to look at animating this dragonfly. This dragonfly is made up of two symbols. One symbol, which is the wing, which is moving inside its own animation in that one symbol, and then the dragonfly is another symbol. The symbol of the dragonfly then follows along what we call a motion path, so we don't have to go from A to B in a straight line. We can follow any path we want to. Okay, so let's go into Animate. Again, I have a folder, this time called Dragonfly. Okay, there's all my images. Okay, and I've saved the file and it's put it in there for me already. Okay, so first thing we need to do is import the images we want to use. So in my images folder, I've got the body, PNG, left wings, sky, right wings, left wings, body as PNGs. And let's import them into the library. Okay, this time I'm going to use the sky as a background, so I'm just going to drag it on to my stage. I already sized this, so I know it's going to fit perfectly. There's my sky. So first of all, we're going to work on one of the wings, and we're going to animate one of the wings. So we'll drag on the left wing. There we go. Now I'll zoom in for you, and let's work on it nice and close. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is make that wing into a symbol. And the shortcut for that is Command Y, or you can go to Modify, Convert to Symbol. Call the symbol a name which makes sense, and again it's sort of web language here, so no spaces please, so underscores, left wings. Okay. You can now see that down here on my timeline I have the stage, I've got the left wings, okay, and I've got the sky. If I now double click on the wings, okay, you'll now see up on the top here, okay, above my image of the stage, it tells me that I'm inside the left wings, which are on the stage. Always remember when you're finished working here to go back to the stage, which you do just by clicking on it. Okay, so that basically means that these wings, this symbol of wings, has its own timeline. So there it is, left wings. First thing I want to do is go on to my transform tool, which is Q, shortcut, and I'm going to move the rotation point, the anchor point in the middle, to where I want it to rotate from, which now shows you that as I now roll over, okay, I can now rotate from the corner. So let's put on a keyframe for rotate. There is my rotate. So click the little orange diamond. Okay, and we want our first rotation to be, we're going to start the wing up the top. So there you go, I've got it at 18 degrees. And let's zoom a little bit on our timeline. Now to make a dragonfly fly, we want it to do it very, very fast. So if I zoom right in on my timeline, that is now 0.25 of a second. That's quarter of a second. Now I'm going to go halfway. So I'm going to go to an eighth of a second, see if that's fast enough. Now I can drag this down myself manually, or I could just go to the opposite by typing it in. So I'm going to type in -18. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to move the bar along the timeline to quarter of a second, okay, and put it back to the beginning, 18. So that's all it's going to take to make this wing fly. Now what we're going to need to do though is make that loop, that animation. Otherwise it's only going to fly once through the timeline, so we're going to get one flap of the wing and then that's it. So to make this loop in Edge Animate, we need to give it a little bit of code. Okay, a little bit of what would have been ActionScript in the old days of Flash, but a bit of scripting language, okay, which will just tell it basically when it reaches the end of this timeline here to go back to the beginning and play again. So there's two things we need to do. The first thing we need to do on our timeline is give it a label at the beginning so it knows where to go back to. This little orange triangle here is Insert Label, which is Command L. So make sure you have your bar back to the very beginning at 0.0 seconds. Click the Insert Label, and then I'm going to call it Start, as that makes logical sense. Then I'm going to drag the bar to the end of my little timeline. Okay, and here I will need to write some code. So anywhere where you see curly braces, curly brackets, so there, there allows us to add an action. When we click it, it opens up this window. Okay, which can give you hints. Okay, of the code to write. So we need to write sim.play, open brackets, quotation mark, the name of our label, which is start, close our brackets, and semicolon. We now have an action at the end, okay, which is going to tell it once it gets to here to go back to here. Come back to here, it should loop round and round. So let's go back to the stage. Okay, there's our animation on the stage. Now to test this looping, we need to open it up in the browser. So let's go Command Return, and there we go. Now for me, for a Dragonfly, I think that's a little bit slow. I want the sort of buzzing wings. So if I double click back on my symbol, I'm going to drag the timeline back, drag this keyframe back. Now I must remember to take my action 2 and make sure that that comes back as well onto the same right place on the timeline. Okay, now let's check that one again. Okay, and then Command Return. Much better. Okay, that's the sort of speed we're after. Okay, now we've made it a symbol, we can use that symbol again if we want to. So I can drag that symbol on to the stage. Okay, it gives me another version of the symbol. Okay, and now I want to flip it, which unfortunately I don't have a command for. But I can manually do that. Okay, let's just check that out. Command Return. Perfect. Okay, so let's just drag the body on. There's the body. Let's move that to where we want it. So let's get one wing in there. Let's put the body. Now, if I move these items here in my elements, if I drag the body to the top, okay, it will now sit above my wings. Okay, and that's how I change my layering. Okay, but I want the wings to go on top. So let's put that back down underneath. Okay, put our wings where we want them. I remember that's sort of in there. There you go, that'll do. Okay, so let's hit save and then Command Return just to test it to see how it's looking. Brilliant. Okay, now I want to get all those objects together. Okay, now I'm going to make them one symbol. What that's going to do is it's going to tidy up my timeline. At the moment I have the stage, I have my left wings animation, my left wings 2 and 3 animation, so that's the left and right wings. I have the body and I have the sky, which I've locked. So if I now group them by turning them into a symbol, you'll see I now have a very nice, neat, tidy timeline. If I double click on the Dragonfly, okay, if I double click on my Dragonfly, you will see inside the Dragonfly timeline I now have the body and the wings, and then if I click on the wings I now have the animation with inside the wings. Okay, and if you look at the top of our breadcrumb, it says that's the symbol left wings, which is inside the symbol Dragonfly, which is on the stage. So I'm going to click back on the stage, go right the way back to the stage. Now the good thing about making it all a symbol together, grouped together as a symbol, means I can resize the whole thing. I can resize the symbols at any time I want. Just wait for the wheel of death. Let's hope it doesn't die. Okay, so that's what happens when you put Maverick on your computer. Okay, so let's move our Dragonfly off to the side. Okay, now we want to make that Dragonfly fly from the left-hand side of my stage to the right-hand side of the stage. Okay, so what we want to use a motion path though. So making sure that our bar is on 0 seconds at the beginning of our timeline, we're going to click motion paths. Okay, always click continue here. Okay, and then we're going to move our timeline to maybe 3 or 4 seconds. So zoom out of my timeline a bit so I can see the time. Let's go to 3 seconds. So remember to always, rule of thumb, move the timeline first, then make your changes on the stage. Okay, now I shall move my Dragonfly to off the stage the other side. And before I do that, I just need to tell Edge Animate what its location is. So I need to give it a keyframe, which is in the global XY. Now I can take my timeline up to 3 seconds and then move my Dragonfly across. And as you can now see, we now have a motion path, which at the moment is not very exciting. Okay, it's very much in a straight line. But what we're going to do is you can now click anywhere you like on this line and drag it. And what you get is a Bezier curve, just like in Illustrator. Okay, and we can drag it around. Okay, and then we can click back on any point. Okay. Click on a handlebar to reshape it. Might flatten that side out a bit. This one looks a bit dodgy. You might pull him down a bit so he doesn't fly off the top. Maybe increase the curve a bit in there. There we go. Okay, so if I now play that animation, there he goes. But as you see, he doesn't follow the path with his nose, with his head. He carries on sideways the whole way. So what we want to do finally is select our Dragonfly, and in our position and size where we selected motion paths, we also select auto orientate, and then we rotate our Dragonfly so he is facing into the motion path. And there we go. He flies across the screen. So let's just test that out. Command return. There goes a little Dragonfly buzzing around. Now, Dragonflies are quite erratic flyers, so let's scrub along our timeline until we get to a point where we think that'd be quite nice. Okay, maybe we'll have a break there. So if I just put a keyframe on the location there to tell it, to just let it know that this is where he is, I can then grab this section of timeline and move it to the right, which it's doing very slowly. Let's give it a second's break. Now if we test that, and there he goes, he flies off the screen. Okay, it has a break in the middle. And that is using a motion path, auto orientate, and creating